Three young children, all about 9 years old, were massacred at school this week. The latest victims of the horrific and uniquely American phenomenon of mass shootings that just keep happening over and over and over again. This time it was three young students and three staff members at the Covenant School in Nashville who were gunned down in a rampage that lasted 14 minutes before the attacker, who was armed with a pistol and two assault rifles, was shot and killed by police. Evelyn Deekhouse, Haley Scruggs, William Kinney, Cynthia Peak, Catherine Kuntz, and Mike Hill all joined the nearly 200 others killed in mass shootings in just the past 3 months alone. And while investigators continue to look into a motive, police have said that this attack was, quote, calculated and planned. And on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are at odds in their response. Democrats, including President Joe Biden, are calling out for stricter gun control measures. But on the GOP side, there have been more calls for prayer and to sit and wait a formal investigation. And then there was this.
We can pass all the laws we want, but somebody's going to 3D print a book. Somebody's going to get ammonium nitrate like they did in Oklahoma and Timothy McVeigh, completely evil. Didn't have a assault weapon, whatever that is, whatever the new definition of that is. Didn't have any of that, and that's what we're going to have. The laws don't work. Until people change their hearts, we're not going to see a change.
So to discuss this, I'm joined by John Rosenthal. He is the co-founder of the advocacy group Stop Handgun Violence, and Mark Barden, the co-founder and CEO of Sandy Hook Promise Action Fund. Mark lost his son Daniel in the 2012 shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Welcome, gentlemen. It's a shame that we are meeting again this way and that this conversation continues. I guess I want to start with you, Mark. You know, you probably hear this question all the time. I'm at a loss for words at how to ask you this, but when you see this on the news over and over and over again, it's got to be like reopening the wound.
Yeah, and you're at a loss for words because this is not natural. This is not normal. This is not something that should be discussed. So yeah, I understand that you're at a loss for words. And when I got the news from a text from, I used to live in Nashville as a musician. I have a lot of friends there. I got a text from somebody, and it stopped me in my tracks. And another elementary school shooting in America, and of course, it brings me right back to Sandy Hook, where I lost my 7-year-old son Daniel. And immediately, my thoughts go to those families who are starting this horrible lifelong journey that nobody should have to be on. And of course, I know that there are solutions available to us. And when I hear legislators saying, you know, nothing will work, you know, we just, I don't know, fix hearts. I'm not sure what that even means. I don't think that person does either. There are solutions available to us. It's not just throw up your hands and give up. We have work to do.
And John, I mean, how many years has it been since the billboard went up?
It'll be 30 years next year.
Yeah.
And that is over 1 million dead Americans ago. The hope and, you know, my optimism, you know, is that since 1994, when we started this work, we've reduced the rate of gun deaths in Massachusetts by 40%. We're an urban state now with the most effective gun laws and regulations without banning most guns, and the lowest gun death rate in the nation. And if every state just simply had the same low gun death rate as urban Massachusetts, 27,000 of the 45,000 Americans killed last year could be alive today. I mean, gun violence prevention isn't theoretical. It's been proven. And frankly, every state, Massachusetts has the lowest, but New York, New Jersey, I mean, every state that has effective gun laws like Massachusetts has the lowest gun death rates in the nation. In every state, without background checks, without any restrictions on assault weapons, without any effective gun laws, have the highest rates of gun deaths. So, for a member of Congress to say there's nothing that can be done is BS. And frankly, every state that has passed effective gun laws, beginning with background checks, has lower gun death rates.
And we know that this shooter, the investigation's ongoing, obviously, but this shooter had access to 7 guns, but was being treated for some sort of emotional disorder. And you're talking about background checks, we're talking about gun control. The conversation is still the Second Amendment, and then the conversation then evolves into other things. How has this work become more difficult as we have seen the far right become more radicalized? I mean, we saw Senator McCarthy, Speaker McCarthy, refuse reporters' questions this morning. I want to start with you, Mark. I mean, has the work gotten harder in the last, say 10 years, or since the Trump administration, or since we've seen the far right, get more of a foothold into Congress and the Senate?
I started working on this problem in America after my son Daniel was killed, and I was a complete neophyte and didn't know really anything about how this all works, and I had to learn quickly. And one of those quick learning lessons was when Congress tried to pass the Manchin-Toomey background check bill to close the loophole in the federal background check system. And despite the support of about 90% of America, that bill failed. And that's when I kind of had an inflection point where I needed to find another way without giving up on Congress. I'm still working on Congress, by the way. And we have had some successes, but I knew that there had to be a different way or another way. And that's when we started focusing on upstream violence prevention with the work we do at Sandy Hook Promise, because we have learned that there are almost always warning signs before somebody hurts others or themselves. And each one of those warning signs represents an opportunity for somebody who is trained on how to recognize those warning signs, to step in and connect that individual to help before it becomes a tragedy. So haven't given up on state, local, and federal legislation because I know we can still get there, and we're never going to give up on that. And as John just pointed out, the evidence proves that it is effective. There are additional components that we can be working on. Sandy Hook Promise students trained in our programs have now prevented 14 planned school shootings that we can speak about, that were imminent and planned and ready to go because they recognized warning signs and told a trusted adult and got help. And it was averted, along with hundreds of suicides and other acts of violence. So there's more than one way to approach this very complex problem, and it takes all hands on deck and multiple approaches.
Here's another thing that we were thoughtful of, because as we talk about, teacher recidivism has become a problem, especially increasingly. And I want to put up some numbers from an EdWeek Research Center poll that shows that 63% of the teachers surveyed said that they fear purposeful mass homicide by an outsider. And 63 fear, yes. And then of that 63%, 32% by an outsider, and 31% by a student. And that's forcing them out of the teaching profession. And then we're seeing these, the security solutions, the safe classrooms, where we've seen the video on social media where, we have the teacher pulling out these safe rooms. And it seems to me that this is a distraction to what really needs to happen. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think they were like $5,000 each or something like that. Like, to spend that money on something like that, where it seems like taking action on the legislative level would be more effective.
Right.
Right.
And we need to replicate effective model laws that have proven to reduce gun deaths without banning guns. But truth is stranger than fiction when it comes to gun policy. I mean, you need a background check to drive a school bus, but not buy 1,000 AR-15s a day if you want to, and easily concealed handguns in 32 states. I mean, we give law enforcement 13 to 17 rounds in their service weapons to protect us, yet Congress gives 35 to 100 round magazines with assault weapons without background checks. Police die when they are reloading. When you hunt duck and deer in this country, you need a license. And when you hunt duck, you're limited to 3 rounds. Deer, 5 rounds. When you hunt humans in America, no license, no limit on the number of rounds. The only thing standing in the way of treating guns like inherently dangerous automobiles, which is really the analogy here in Massachusetts, it's exactly what we do. The only thing standing in the way are spineless Republican members of Congress at this point who are choosing blood money campaign contributions over the health and safety and lives of another 110 will die today. There will be another mass shooting of 4 more people today, and there will be 91 school shootings in less than 91 days of this year. It's a choice that the Republicans in Congress have taken. Your kids, our teachers are not safe in schools. There's no question about it. Nor are we safe in synagogues or churches or movie theaters or shopping malls. That is a choice that our Congress has made. And until we vote these spineless members out of Congress, it's not going to stop.
And Mark, in the last minute that we have here, you know, we hear from, especially the Massachusetts NRA, they say, you know, suicides are the highest instances of gun death and things like this. And we know that that's the other side. The Second Amendment is always the counterpoint to all of this. What message do you have to folks who are still at home saying, I still want my guns? I believe in the Second Amendment, because we all know those people. We have to be honest about that.
So nothing that John or I just articulated interferes with that. Everything that we just talked about is consistent with folks' right to own a firearm should they wish to do so. There are solutions available to us, whether it's training students how to recognize warning signs and connect somebody to help before it becomes a tragedy, along with safe gun policy will produce good public safety outcomes without infringing on anyone's rights. There are solutions available to us now. And it's up to everybody to get serious about this conversation and think about what you can do to be part of the solution.
And Crystal,
Yeah.
I'm a gun owner.
Yeah.
And a lot of board members at Stop Handgun Violence are gun owners. And it is not that difficult to get a gun license, get trained, store your gun safely, comply with consumer safety standards for all manufacturers who sell guns in Massachusetts, unless you have a felony and it's picked up in a background check. So, you know, you've got to start with background checks, and then you have got to remove assault weapons, weapons of war that have no purpose whatsoever other than killing a lot of people quickly without having to reload. And that's what we've done here in Massachusetts that's proven to work.
All right. Well, we could have this conversation all day long, and the hope is that we don't have to sit here again, right? We don't have to sit here again and have this conversation again. John Rosenthal, yeah, absolutely. John Rosenthal and Mark Barden, thank you so much for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.